What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. Super pumped, as always, bringing you another incredible guest. So sit back, relax, and tune in. He is the CEO of Anahat Education Group and the executive director of the Institute of Interpersonal Hypnotherapy. He has founded the International Association of Interpersonal Hypnotherapists and onlinemonastery.com. He is also the author of 5 books, including The Sacred Geometry of Meditation, The Sutras of Healing and Enlightenment, and Interpersonal Hypnotherapy. Please welcome Matthew Brownstein. Matthew, that is amazing. I am super excited to hear all about this stuff because this is really in line with a lot of the other guests that I've had.
Thank you for having me on. I look forward to exploring it with you as well.
So before we got started, you kind of explained something to me. I said, I think that you align with what you offer to help people break out of certain labels that are holding them back. And you said something to me that I've never heard before. In my mind, I think hypnotherapy is like a therapy because it says hypnotherapy, but you said it's something different. Can you explain that to me and to the audience again?
Yeah, my primary mentor, the late great Mr. Gil Boyne, he called hypnotherapy a therapy for the people. Yet I said, we just need to clarify that sometimes hypnotherapy is therapeutic. We're working with medical, dental, or mental health conditions, but there's certain laws in different states about that. So saying it's just a therapy that anybody who calls himself a hypnotherapist can do, that can be an issue. A lot of hypnotherapists just work on non-therapeutic conditions, not even conditions, just issues that people want to improve. So if you're saying, I want to be more confident, I want to make more money, I want to feel more outgoing, we would call those non-therapeutic. And therefore, we would just say we facilitate people's process more than we would say we do formal therapy. As most of us who are in the field are not actually licensed therapists, but hopefully well-trained facilitators that just help people to reach their goals.
So you also, I see here, the founder of the Interpersonal NLP Society, Silent Light Publishers, and IGE Business Networking Groups. So I've talked to a lot of people that have done hypnotherapy and then also the NLP. So can you explain to the audience what the NLP is and the difference in the two?
Yeah, so hypnotherapy goes back all the way to Franz Anton Mesmer, which some people may have heard of as far as the animal magnetism theme. That fell away from anywhere being popular because he was supposedly healing people through this sense of this magnetic fluid, this animal magnetism. But eventually it evolved into that Mesmer was really just healing people through the power of suggestion. So hypnotherapy became a way of working with the altered state, offering suggestions. One of the greatest hypnotherapists was Milton Erickson. Some of the people who studied what Erickson were doing was Richard Bandler and John Grinder. What they were doing, the founders of NLP, what they were doing was trying to find out how people who are excellent, how we can transfer that to others for their own excellence. So as if you can do something well, so can I just have to do what you're doing internally. So they studied a lot of the great minds in the fields of therapy, including Milton Erickson for hypnotherapy. They really just designed a way of thinking, as they say, that leaves behind a trail of techniques. Yeah. So where hypnosis, we're using the altered state and we're working a lot with the client's content, like what's going on in the subconscious. With NLP, we're working more with the structure, meaning what are you doing in your mind? So it's not necessarily like in hypnosis, we're saying perhaps what happened in the past that's causing your problem. In NLP, we'd say, what are you doing with your mind right now that's causing the problem? And then there are a lot of techniques that help to change the internal structure of what we're doing to ideally match others who are doing far better than we're currently doing.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I've never tried hypnosis. I've never felt, or hypnotherapy. I've never found a reason for me to do that, because I've always been pretty stable with what I do. I've never, smoked or anything like that. So I know a lot of people do that for smoking and other different behaviors that they can't break. I think one person used it for their being overweight, trying to get back on track with diet. And I just find it very fascinating. And I mean, I would love to, I think to myself, what would I do hypnotherapy for? Could you give a good example of what someone would do hypnotherapy for, how it could benefit them?
Yeah, it's much more than just behavior modification. People know
Yeah.
it for smoking or weight loss. I like to say, whatever the mind affects, hypnosis can work on. So whether that's moving away from challenges, like you said, you're pretty together, you don't have challenges that made you go seek facilitation. Yet there's a lot of people who are doing well who just want to do better. So I like the model that we help the able to become more able. So someone like you, where you're able, you're highly functioning. If we said, what would be your goals? What would be the next step? So a lot of my work deals with what we call life mastery work, or just living a self-actualized life, right? So somebody like yourself who just might have other goals, we
Yeah.
can use these techniques from hypnosis, NLP, related modalities to align your mind to help you achieve success faster, easier, and maybe to dream bigger than you've ever dreamed before. Right. So it's either a movement away from pain or it's a movement towards success, towards pleasure, towards that which is wonderful for our lives. And really anything that you'd like to achieve, I believe you can put your mind towards it to just be that much more successful.
Wow, that is so. Do you have a success story of someone that maybe you've worked with, or someone in this industry that's worked with some like that has a like something you could share with us to give us an idea of what that looks like?
Sure. My background is in Chinese medicine before I got into hypnotherapy. So I was really passionate about the mind body connection and how to help people to heal as quickly as possible. So, like I said, when we get into the therapeutic realms, for instance, under Florida law, where a school is located, we always get a referral from a physician. So I'll qualify this story with that. So, under a physician's direction and supervision, I was working with a woman with Crohn's disease. And similar to ulcerative colitis, where there's blood, bleeding, and pain when it comes to bowel movements. And that's a brief understanding of it. Yet, there was a student of mine whose mother had Crohn's disease. I worked with her for a total of 10 hours. We worked through the symptoms, the emotions, the negative beliefs, all of the past emotional pain that she was holding on to. Usually, we look a lot of anger and guilt. By transforming that within 10 hours, she was medically verified as no longer having Crohn's disease. I've seen that type of work happen. So, any psychosomatic illness is basically saying that the mind is causing the problem.
Yeah.
But usually, of course, when you go to your physician, they don't treat the mental side of the psychosomatic, they treat the somatic side, which is great. Thank God for doctors. If you go to a talk therapist, you might talk about the challenges of having the condition, yet there aren't necessarily the skill sets to resolve it. Yet working again in a complementary way with a licensed physician, we're able to go into the subconscious mind and say, okay, what exactly is causing this imbalance in the body? So I've seen that over and over for allergies, asthma, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease. I mean, the list is quite big. But for one example, that's what first popped in my mind is helping somebody within 10 hours to be free of a really debilitating condition just by healing the mind alone.
That's amazing. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So, someone would have to get a doctor's recommendation to get this kind of therapy,
It
or
depends on the state you're in, and it depends on the credentials of the practitioner. So different states have different laws, but being a state licensed school, we're really big on being sure that all of our graduates operate within the scope of their credentials and within the law. So some of the highest standards of law would actually be Florida law. That just says if you're working in a medical, dental, or mental health condition, you need a prescription, referral, supervision, or direction from a licensed practitioner of the healing arts. So if any of your listeners think, hey, I think I'll go get some hypnotherapy, you do want to check the credentials of the hypnotherapist, but most likely that hypnotherapist should say, yes, I can work with this if you get a referral from your physician. It's the safest and highest level of professional standard that not only we recommend, but in most states is the law.
oh wow. So I don't even know this, but perhaps you can let us know. Is this hypnotherapy covered under insurance?
It's generally not if you go just to a hypnotherapist. If you went to perhaps a medical doctor or a psychologist who's practicing hypnotherapy, they might be able to put it into billing there. But generally, it's not really long-term work. So like this woman I mentioned with Crohn's disease, it was 5 sessions, which is usually something people can pay out of pocket, and they tend to be more emotionally motivated when they
Sure.
pay for the work themselves. So it's really not a bad thing to say, okay, it's going to be, I won't say exact numbers, it's a handful of hundreds of dollars. And there's a chance, no guarantee, but there's a chance you could be free of this condition for good. Because if you really get to the root cause, you shouldn't have to repeat the process, right? If
Yeah.
anger is causing this condition and the anger is cleared, you truly forgive and let go, When that part of the mind is brought to peace, it shouldn't be creating any more problems. So sometimes when insurance is paying for the work, you tend to develop a very long-term relationship with somebody who's talking to you about your issues. This is a very focused way of working, meant to help me become obsolete in your life so that you shouldn't have to repeat sessions with me. All right, we get to the root cause, we clear it, and ideally the symptoms drop away or the behaviors drop away, and it remains that way. So generally, we don't even encourage that. We bring insurance or therefore diagnosis into the work. To be able to take insurance, you have to diagnose. The problem with diagnosis is it could actually label someone, like label free, and put them into a certain box of, oh, I have this. So if you say, for example, with Crohn's disease, if I have this thing, it's as if there's something called Crohn's. Like, what is that thing? If you see a lot of these conditions, I'm not saying all of them are, but if you see a lot of conditions as psychosomatic, then you don't say, I have this thing. You can say, I have negative beliefs, negative emotions, negative patterns inside that are affecting my physiology. So if we own that I have something going on in my mind that needs transformation, we're much more empowered than just saying you have this condition and therefore essentially you're stuck with that condition if there's no medical cure. And for psychosomatic illness, there quite often isn't, because you're not addressing the root cause, which is the mind.
What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. Can we get a round of applause today? Woo! Today I'm excited to announce Manscaped launched their Ultra Premium Collection. Believe it or not, it's for your not so private parts. I'm talking about a leveled up hygiene routine with your favorite manly scent. And let me tell you something, it smells so good. My man wears this every day. This is an all-in-one skin and hair care kit for the everyday man and covers you from head to toe. Manscaped is trusted below the waist. Now trust them with the rest. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com and use the code LABELFREE20 for 20% off and free shipping. And enjoy. Now, are there different types of people that can be hypnotized versus not? I mean, I'm assuming there's people out there that cannot be hypnotized.
Generally, the studies show that maybe 10% of the population cannot be hypnotized. However, we need to say where were those studies done and who were doing those studies.
Right.
If you work with someone like me, I've been doing this now for 25 years. As long as you're willing to make a phone call, come into my office, or work on Zoom, I will get you into hypnosis. So we say there's no poor client, there's only poorly trained hypnotherapists, and our graduates are not in that category. So if you're going to work with me, I will get you into that state. And if it's humanly possible, I'll get you to your goals through working with that state. I see it like going to a car mechanic and saying like, well, how many people can get their car fixed by a car mechanic? Well, first you have to get into the car mechanic's place of business. And then once you do and hand over your keys, essentially now it's the responsibility of the car mechanic to get your car resolved.
Right. Same
thing with this work. If you show up to my office, it's now my responsibility to get you into that state and to get your goals. And it's really the confidence of the hypnotherapist that makes a big difference. So if this is like a university study that said out of 100 people, 90 of them went into hypnosis, we'd have to say, well, is this just a grad student doing this? Or is this somebody with 25 years of experience doing it? Right. So the more experience you have, you're far more effective than somebody who might just be starting out.
And so you're, as the CEO of the Anahat Education Group, so is that the group where you graduates come from?
Yes. So that's our corporation. And then the primary branch of that does the hypnotherapy training is called the Institute of Interpersonal Hypnotherapy. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. And how long does it take for someone to become a hypnotherapist?
In our school, we have 500 total hours of training is the base of the work.
Wow.
There's a lot more. It goes well over 1,000. But to go through those first 500 hours, you're talking about 9 months. Some students might take a bit longer, so about 9 months to a year. And then you're certified as certified hypnotherapist, certified clinical hypnotherapist, and certified transpersonal hypnotherapist. And through our school, the diplomas are backed by the Department of Education.
That is very cool. I love it. So tell us about the meditation system. I'm curious about that.
Yeah, certainly. So I promote that at onlinemonastery.com totally for free. It's over 60 hours of recordings, and then you have to practice, and eventually you could get certified and become a certified teacher. That came to me through my own meditations back in 1996. So in 92, I had a really profound spiritual awakening for myself that rocked my whole world. Everything became light and love. There was just so much joy and so much bliss. And I just knew this is the way life is meant to be. But when that feeling went away, I just had to dedicate my life to finding it again. It was more than a feeling, it was just like the state of being that
Mhm.
felt like this is our inherent perfection. We all deserve to feel this good. So, yeah, that led me to studying religion and philosophy at university and Chinese medical studies. But eventually it led me into the mystical branches of a lot of these practices that teach you how to find wholeness within yourself
Yeah.
just by sitting and meditating. So in 96, while I was meditating, it's hard to you find the exact word. I want to sound too religious with the idea of like personal revelation, but something came to me that explained like it was this internal process of this is how you can meditate in a way to have really significant balance and peace in your life. And it was such a unique system that I needed to teach it in its own way. So it's called the Anahat meditation system, and I talk about it in my books, The Sacred Geometry of Meditation, and the other book called the Anahat Meditation System. It helps you to find balance between being grounded, focused, present, centered as a human being with the fully open heart. People don't necessarily know what to do with their emotions. And then
Yeah.
it helps you to be deeply connected spiritually, whatever that would mean for the individual. It's not religious, but it's a direct experience of inner peace, inner calm, and finding the love, the peace, the joy within yourself instead of having to look outside of you. It's a more advanced system, but essentially it teaches you just how to sit and be still. And if somebody just learned to do that, sit for 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, and just breathe, that would help to change the whole world. So even if somebody just developed that basic practice, it would be great. But if they want to go a lot deeper into meditation, it's definitely a resource.
Yeah. So I love all of that. And so you said there's some free videos at onlinemonastery.com.
Yeah, they're on YouTube as well.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, once I start talking about this stuff, I usually hear me in the beginning of the video say, "We'll probably go for an hour today," and next thing you know, it's been 4 hours. So there's an enormous amount of material that just starts coming out when I start speaking. But yeah, anybody can go there for free. To, excuse me, to onlinemonastery.com, and the videos are under the Anahat meditation tab.
Oh, excellent. I'm actually thinking I'm gonna go check it out because I have learned to meditate here and there, but it's been hard for me to like really focus and set that time aside. And I do realize the importance of it because I mean I really truly believe in it. I think that once you can do meditation consistently, well, like you said, it really just helps just overall, like your love, your calmness, your peace, your oneness, your love. I mean, I really believe in it. And so I'm curious to see what the videos will do for myself. So you guys, I'm going to put that link in the show notes. So if you are interested in some free meditation guides, go ahead and check that out. And maybe you and I can do it together. So where else can people find your books, learn a little bit more about becoming a hypnotherapist and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so our main website is instituteofhypnotherapy.com, and the bookstore is there. So there's all the information about the school and the training, but also there's our association, the International Association of Interpersonal Hypnotherapists, that covers a lot of the law, the credentialing, the ethics, everything you would need to know, HIPAA compliance, to really understand the profession
Hmm.
beyond just the training, because you can go get a weekend training in hypnosis. They might even let you call yourself a hypnotherapist. There's not much regulation in this field. But without state licensed diplomas and proper ethics, practice, scope of practice assessment, understanding the law, understanding HIPAA compliance, right? We really work to keep the highest standards in the industry. So yeah, if anybody was listening and interested, check out not only the IIH, which is the school, the institute, but the IAIH as well, which is the association working to keep the standards in the practice really high.
Excellent. You guys, I'm going to put all those links in the show notes. So if you are interested or moved by what Matthew has shared with us today, don't hesitate to go click one of those links to learn more or to possibly learn how you can sign up to become a student yourself. So this is a part of the show, Matthew, where I like to ask for last words of wisdom or advice. What would you like to leave with us today?
Yeah, the first words that I heard from my philosophy professor when I had finished my first philosophy class in college, I said, "You've changed my whole life. You opened my mind to a whole nother way of thinking." And he just said, "Stay on the path." And I don't even know what that meant at the time. I was only, in my early 20s. I was like, "There's a path? What do you mean a path?" In Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh, he said, for those who may not know the story, he was homeless. And then he just decided, he started writing a letter to God. And he said, "I sure as hell," and like that inner higher wisdom voice stopped him and said, "Wouldn't you like to be as sure as heaven?" And his
Yeah.
whole life changed because of that. And he said, "At least now I know there's a path. I might not be done with the path, but I'm on it and I know there's a path." So the idea that we all have a purpose and a mission, that to me is a huge part of my life's work, to help people realize you're important, you're valuable. And you talk about label free. When you let go of the false beliefs, the limitations in our own minds, you have a mission and a purpose, something you can do that no one else can do. And when people go through my school, we help them to tap into that. Right? Like, who are you and what are you meant to do here? Let's get some real meaning and purpose in your life. So yeah, whether you're wherever someone's at, if I had to give one message to anybody, it was the one my first philosophy teacher gave me: stay on the path. And if you don't know what that is, find your path and then stay on it. Don't do anything but your path.
I love it. You gave me goosebumps. That was beautiful. Thank you for those incredible words and everything that you left with us today, Matthew. It's been a pleasure talking to you and sharing your story and everything that you do. So please keep us posted on any new books that you might have coming out, and we'd love to update the audience.
Right on. Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you.
You're welcome. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. Please don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, review, comment, share, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.